Hello, everybody. Good morning. This is Karsten Maier, the Secretary General of UECBV, the European Livestock and Meat Trade Union. It's an honor and pleasure for me joining this important webinar focusing on Corona experience and the pandemic situation, especially in Europe. I would like to have an introduction and some 5 topics: where we are coming from, who is UECBV. Second, a short introduction of our specific handling this crisis. Third, the main points, what I call the 5 waves dealing with the COVID. And a fourth topic, coming back to normality, and the last 5th step about future steps with the Green Deal. So, first, where are we coming from and who is UECBV? To make it short, UECBV is an umbrella organization with about 50 members from the European 25 member states, plus external ones like Russia and Japan, but also EFTA states like Norway and Swiss. So the second topic what I want to inform about was how we tried to handle this pandemic in the beginning, since the beginning of March until, let's say, this week. So what we did is with our 3 sections to build up task forces. The 3 sections are about livestock, about the meat industry, and for you today, most important, of course, the trade section, dealing with questions about import and exports. We weekly met in remote system, which means about 60 meetings since March, trying to get an overview, to find specific questions to deal with, and to act or react. So what about to act and react? This is my third and now the specific topic I would try to work out what I understood is of interest for you. So my feeling is that we had a sort of 5 waves dealing with the COVID. So in the very first beginning of the weeks, the second, specific questions of market changes. The third, handling politics and questions for the importers. The fourth step, so to say, and fourth wave, starting the last 2-3 weeks, about the Corona cases in slaughterhouses. And the fifth, just the last week, the last wave, import stops due to media information in China. So the first wave was the first weeks handling the supply chain in this lockdown situation, which nobody, of course, was aware in the very beginning. So it was a question of how to keep up the supply chain. And it were questions, can we manage questions like being supplied enough with the sanitizers, with the mouse caps, or even getting the workers to the work. And specifically, questions in this first week raise about the border controls. It was about the livestock transports, where we had the main issue about the border controls, queues, long traffic jams in Poland, which, thanks to the Commission reactions, we were able to handle quite early to stop these queues and to go on. So in the end, let's summarize these first not only interesting but most active weeks. We were able, as the whole food industry, to keep on the supply chain, which was not quite for sure in the beginning. But we managed, and the most important, let's say, scientific evidence-based information was that there is not at all any problem and question about this COVID transmission via food, and therefore no transmission via the product, meat, or our animals. So these first waves, after being very busy, we handled and came to the next most important question: what about the market? And there were, of course, main market changes due to the fact that about the 40, 50, 60, and even more percentages were about the food services and the restaurants. So what happened? Due to their closure, the market of the beef, of the veal, broke down without any ability to act or react. And even the sheep lamb market broke down due to these facts and around the Easter time and the change of the Ramadan. So this was most important challenge, where in total and altogether, let's say, the industry handled in the double sense of getting down the capacities due to the demand and trying to have a promotion activity and looking for market support. And this led to this third step I want to inform about, which was about the European politics. To handle this most challenging crisis from the market side, in first steps began to convince politics for market support, and in the end, in May, the European Union started the private storage aid system. To make it short, 2 weeks ago, it was stopped. What happened? Due to the fact of the necessity of the market, having the premium cuts stored, as they were the products which would have been used in the restaurants, which were not anymore demanded and used. The Commission unfortunately didn't handle it as requested for the cuts, but only for the hindquarters. So in the end, the full hindquarters were able to store, but the interest, which was supposed for about 30, 45, 50,000 tons, ended just with request of private storage for these hindquarters of about 2,000 tons. Maybe you are interested in that. The figures are published, but to inform, these 2,215 tons in total were at an order. Give me a chance to look at it. It was in the first place Spain with about 600 tons. In the second place, the Polish meat industry, 400 tons, and each about 300 tons from France, from Austria, and the Netherlands. And in the fourth place, it was Italy with 125 tons, and the fifth place, so to say, with 50, 40, 20 tons. Usage of the beef storage were from Latvia, Germany, and Ireland. And the system gave an opportunity for 90 days, 120 days, or 150 days of storage. But about 1,500 tons of these 2,000 tons were requested for a 90 days period. So this market challenge, this market reaction, this market support system for beef was stopped. For the sheep and goat, it was for about 140 tons. And the still most suffering real sector was due to political and legal restrictions not used, and the European meat industry still is requesting for that, and on the political level from the ministers and the parliament there is a trial to get the support for this still most suffering sector. Well, and as I said, beside this political support for the private storage, there were a lot of import requests due to handling this most challenging crisis, which was a sort of force majeure, where the Commission services thankfully tried to have a lot of answers of written and oral requests handling these issues, and some still pending, like the handling of the securities and even the reductions. So giving this as a third keyword for the 5 waves, the most biggest next steps were the information, especially in the media, about this, what I named the 4th wave, the corona cases in slaughterhouses in Europe. As in the very beginning, some of the slaughterhouses tried to get information about corona cases due to the fact that there was no possibility to test and to check. It was possible later to get the checks, and in the beginning there were no cases, but due to the fact that continuing the supply chain as from the very beginning, cases arose and led to the situation that in Germany, Ireland, UK, and Netherlands especially, cases arise and lead it even to stops, as you know, from media information. And this media interest focused very quick about the worker situation in the slaughterhouses, especially in Germany, a bit about the market situation, and the rising fear that the closures could lead to a stop or finishing or reducing the supply chain, which was again the most important thing for the food industry to keep on, and which was still able to. And I think the food industry and the meat industry can be and must be proud of being able, in such a challenging situation, being able to fully keep on the supply chain. Nevertheless, due to this media interest and the media information, some information that has to be differentiated, which is difficult sometimes for the media in the end, especially China started checking this information and leading in a real short-time activity to stop of imports from possibly or some even handled affected factories, which of course is for the market again a more than challenging question. It's of course the market of the pig especially, but of course of the protein as well. So this is still ongoing on a political high level to handle, because the trade must go on. The trade is affected, but there is no evidence, once again, that that there is in any case any possibility of a transmission of the coronavirus due to food or to the meat. There isn't any. Nevertheless, this sensitivity of the user, of the demand, led to this challenging last wave, and we have to handle carefully and are working on it on a political and on a practical level. So this is the core of the waves of the COVID situation in Europe for the meat industry. And the main question, of course, is what I mentioned as a fourth step, coming back to normality. What we can do, what is already happening. It's due to the changing on the lifting of the lockdowns now that the restaurants come back to work, that the food services come back to work with, of course, the social distancing legal requirements. And the possibilities, and so people coming back to restaurants, and the market starts to come back. But what happened in this very beginning of the COVID, I have to mention a special situation. In the restaurants, the food services, they are the core of the feeling of the people getting out, enjoying, coming together, enjoying, consuming food and consuming meat. But they like to do that in the restaurants in the premium section. So a lot of households even are not as able to cook and to prepare the meal as in restaurants, etc. So what's happening? In the first some weeks, they started to that the demand of pork, the pig meat, rose in the countries, a little bit differentiated, but in general in Europe, due to the fact that the people try to have their meat cooked at home. But that changed when the pressure of living together raised, and they went back to buying convenience food. So in the end, and that's, as I said, this fourth topic of how coming back to normality, what to do, and did the discussions about the meat industry, about the livestock, about the surroundings, about the handling of production, affect the meat in a way that we could, in a short-term or longer-term perspective, have a change of the consumer demands, of the consumer habits. At the moment, we don't know in general, but we have to check, to prove, and carefully, of course, to monitor the statistics, the habits, the promotion activities of everybody, of the producers, of the exporters, but also of the importers. So I'm sorry to leave this as a question at the moment, but for sure having to deal with that and the next steps very carefully. And that's my fifth point, coming to the last topic about future steps, which are in the European Union under the umbrella, so to say, of the Green Deal activities. The Commission already proposed and announced in December, and in May published their Green Deal and Farm to Fork strategy, including biodiversity and questions like that, in the whole sense of handling the food production in future in the next 2-3 years, under the question of sustainability, meaning being able of that the producer have in mind the economical, but also the ecological and even social aspects. So this will be the main topic and issue for handling questions for the next steps and the future aspects for also our industry, the meat industry, the livestock industry, where for sure we are key of these questions, of solutions, of developments, being able to produce in a responsible manner, for hygienic, enjoyable, and for sure sustainable, yeah, and future-orientated product. So for sure, Europe, and I'm quite sure Argentina as well, and main meat producer, have to keep in mind developments like this to go on carefully in that way. So being able, let's say, to meet the future. So these are my five main topics for discussion, hoping to stay in touch with you as a market organizer, as our consumers, and working together closely for, let's say, a future for the meat. Thank you very much. This was Karsten Maier, Secretary General of UECPV, the European Livestock and Meat Trade Union. Thank you and goodbye.